I wasn't planning on making any more of these videos, but I have to be honest, I'm kinda shocked that Nintendo were able to pull a complete 180 with this DLC. Actual characters are being included, which I really didn't see happening, considering it's the paid content from Tour as opposed to the free tracks that they've been porting over. And while I wasn't huge on Wave 3, even I have to admit that Wave 4 has really upped the quality compared to previously, especially Yoshi's Island, which is such a neat track. It really utilizes the simplified art style of Tour to its advantage. But even tracks like, say, Waluigi's Stadium look somewhat close to coming halfway to the same quality of the base game tracks. Color me surprised. I wish they could go back to some of the older tracks like Shroom Ridge, for instance, and update the visuals to those, but hey, Nintendo's actually listened to feedback and improved their standards here, which is more than what I expected. Adding in new characters, really improving the visuals, this DLC looks absolutely amazing from what I've seen of it. So anyway, let's start by discussing the more pressing matter, the playable characters. I was always really peeved about the character roster in the base game. Way too many core Mario characters were absent, and while the two major updates to this game over time somewhat improved it, with inclusions like Bowser Jr., I still feel like we were missing some major characters, notably Birdo, which is really great to see return, but also Diddy Kong. I always felt like this pair was weirdly missing in 8, so it's nice to think that Nintendo could utilize this DLC and this one last update to this corpse of a game to finally fix its roster and include the essential characters that have been missing. The problem with this, however, it's kinda hard to give original predictions. Nearly everyone out there is listing more or less the same 6 characters, and it's hard for me to break away from that. Looking at the full cast of Mario Kart Tour characters, there's at least 4 major characters that stand out that are absent in Deluxe, well 3, not including Birdo. We have Diddy Kong as I mentioned before, but there's also Pauline and Kamek. Pauline of which is in pretty much every spin-off game these days, or has been since Odyssey, and Kamek who has been considered and scrapped for pretty much every Mario Kart game at this point, including 8, where he had an emblem in the game's files. So I think these 4 characters are naturally going to be included. Kamek is a bit more unlikely from the rest, considering his history from the series, but I will just say that if Nintendo forgets about him this time again, while leaving him trapped in the coffin that is Mario Kart Tour, well, I'll be slightly annoyed. The remaining 2, I'll just cut to the chase, Funky Kong and Petey Piranha, but I'll spice up my predictions just a tiny bit. Actually, initially back when Birdo was first announced and it wasn't completely clear that she was the only character for Wave 4, in a video I didn't get around to making, I was going to say that there was 6 characters according to the roster size, which I was correct with, split evenly between the cups, which is now obviously wrong. I was also entertaining the idea that the waves could be themed. Say Wave 4 was Yoshi themed with Yoshi's Island, Birdo and Kamek. Wave 5 could be Donkey Kong themed with a Donkey Kong course, Diddy and Funky Kong. And Wave 6 could be Mario Odyssey themed with a New Donk City track, Pauline, and some other random character. I'm not too confident about this idea anymore, but I don't know, it was a cool idea for the hour it lasted before I found out Birdo was the only character in Wave 4. I think what's going to be the case is 2 characters are going to be included for Wave 5 and 3 for Wave 6. As I said, Diddy Kong and Pauline are naturally going to be included, so I'll just absent-mindedly place them in Wave 5. For Wave 6, as I said, Kamek would be included. For the remaining 2, I'll start by going over the very last character actually, just to keep the roster uniform and consistent, and also giving it a bit more spice, a bit more interest to the DLC. I think it could be possible to see a non-Mario Nintendo character be included. Hopefully Rob from Mario Kart DS, which would also help to align the DLC with the whole retro content direction, although that's not really the case with this DLC anymore. I have to imagine it would be limited to a choice of a character from Nintendo's in-house properties. I know there's even third-party amiibo costumes in the game, but none of the playable characters fall out of Nintendo's first party. I wouldn't imagine any outsourced or external companies' characters such as Kirby or a Pokemon character be included. Additionally, whatever character would be included should be cartoony to match the style of Mario Kart. I could imagine Samus, or more fittingly Captain Falcon, if they really chibified them. But I'm just gonna stick with my bias and include Rob, who would fit all the conditions, and also become my next main Mario Kart character. Not that I would play very often, to be quite honest. And finally, for the last character, or should I say the 5th character, I'm gonna go with a really boring choice, Funky Kong. A fan favorite character, and I'm sure Nintendo would have to realize that, right? Alternatively, we could get Dixie Kong, or possibly a non-DK character like Petey Piranha, mostly because maybe you don't want to flood the DLC with too many Donkey Kong characters. But whatever, I'm gonna stick with Funky Kong. For honorable mention, specifically characters from Mario Kart Tour I'd like to see that I haven't mentioned already: Nabbit, King Bob-omb, and Hammer Bro, as well as Fire, Ice, and Boomerang Bro as old costumes, would all be really great characters, but we have unfortunately run out of space. Now for the courses, let's start by looking at my older predictions. For the city courses, I guessed Amsterdam Drift for Wave 4 in my second video, for the wrong cup. Weirdly enough, I was more accurate with my third video where I guessed both Singapore and Amsterdam in the wrong positions, but still in Wave 4. I was actually kinda shocked to see Riverside Park of all tracks from Super Circuit to be included, because it's something that I always include in my videos, in particular in my Mario Kart 9 video as well as my second video for the Booster Course Pass. On the note of my Mario Kart 9 video, I also included the DS version of Mario Circuit. Otherwise, the remaining retro tracks had already kinda been leaked a while ago, so I did include them in my previous videos. Now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, my updated course predictions. I do want to make it clear that this will probably be the last time I do this, because there's only one more wave after this and I don't really care anymore. I put a lot of thought and effort into these predictions. My blood, sweat, and tears poured into these selections and placements to make sure everything was as accurate as possible and as perfect as it could be. So without further ado, the perfect, most accurate predictions for Wave 5 and 6 are